Hi, it's James here from Totally Lodge UK, and today we're going to be looking at mushroom spore flowcharts. It sounds a bit weird, but this is the thing that people do when you go out with foragers and they pick up a mushroom and they turn it around in their hands, rip it in half, give it a smell, stuff like that. These are the things that they're doing, whether they're doing it consciously or unconsciously. What we're going to look at is the cogs of how they identify, and we've called it a mushroom spore flowchart. So we're going to take a look at going through our spore flowchart to identify the Amanita mushrooms. So to start off with, we'll open the book and we go to the flowchart section, and we can see some of the general gist of what the overall look of certain mushrooms are, and we're asking questions. So we're going to say, is it a cap with a spongy underside? We say no. Is it grown out of wood with a spongy underside? No. Is it grown out of wood with a jelly-like texture? No. And then we get down to this one here. So we found a mushroom with a cap stem and what look like gills. So we turn it upside down. First question we ask is, does it have gills or does it have gill-like ridges? So if it had gill-like ridges, they would be like folds on a raisin. And if they're gills, they'd be like the pages of a book. So we're going to say yes. No, sorry, it doesn't have gill-like ridges, it has gills. So at this point, it's asking us to do a spore print. So to do that, we'd cut the cap away from the stem and put the stem on two pieces of paper. One would be black and one would be white. We can put a cup over it if we'd like, and we leave it overnight to drop its spores to see what colour those spores are. So for this one, we'd get a white to cream spore print. And it's saying, go to page 22 to carry on. So the first question we're going to ask ourselves, we always start with a blue square. Does it have a central stem? So does the stem come out of the centre of the cap? For the Amanitas, we're going to say yes. And then we're going to ask, does it have intermediate gills? So these are gills that run halfway up the cap to the edge of the cap. So gills typically start from the centre of the mushroom and run to the edge. Intermediate gills are, in addition to those, they run from the halfway up the cap to the right to the edge. So that tells us, yes, it's got intermediate gills. Fantastic. So next we're going to ask, is milk produced when it's damaged? So when we break the cap, does it produce any milk? Is there any like white liquid coming out of it? Is there any orange or red liquid coming out of it? It's really quite obvious when you do get some of the milk coming out. So we're going to say no, so these ones don't produce milk. And then the next question is there a vulva or a sac at the base of the mushroom? So again, you can see in this picture what we mean, and this is when the mushroom grows from the ground. If you look at the bottom of the stem where it goes into the ground, is there a sac sitting around the stem? And sometimes it'll be a really obvious sac that sits around the stem, really intact, and sometimes it'll be like the remnants of a sac, so you can kind of see where there was one. And if we answer yes to this, we've pulled down to the Amanitas. Now, there's some seriously deadly toxic mushrooms in this family, so super important to be wary of these ones. But also there's a couple of edibles, so we've written this into the book because there's some interesting parts to look at. So there we go, I think it's 7 steps down to the Amanitas. There is other features in the Amanitas that are important, such as dots on the cap, a skirt or ring on the stem. But in theory, you shouldn't need to know all those extra bits for the spore print flowchart. There we are, Amanitas.